We've got George Gibson here, Chief Content Officer and co-founder of
Creative and
Youni.
Community.
Creating community.
Content.
She's and creating community. Co-founder of Youni, and I think this is super exciting for you guys today, as you know, it's sort of all about where you are now, universities, societies, and bringing that all together. So I'll let George actually introduce herself with some slides that she's brought along today, and then we'll kick off with the podcast.
So this is going to be a very, very quick introduction just to tell you what the fuck it is that we do in terms of... Am I allowed to swear?
That's fine, done it now.
Okay. So what is Youni? So Youni is the social network that we need. So everyone in this room, you're going to hella relate to the things I'm about to say. And if you don't, let's talk after, because I'm very interested in your experience. Right, the first one is this one. Social media is now just media. Okay, think about the platforms you use. You're scrolling through TikTok, Instagram, and then you're not really seeing your friends on there anymore even. What we really want is in real life social connection. That is never going to change. And if you want proof of that, think of COVID. When we couldn't have that, social media actually failed us and people's mental health spiraled out of control because people weren't having that in real life connection. University is sold as basically the time when you can access all of that. It's the best years of your life. You're gonna find your people, you're gonna find your passion. It's gonna be incredible, okay? But why does it look like this? So all of these stats are devastating, and they're all about the current state of the education system, how it's not preparing us in terms of our educational prospects for the work life, and then also in terms of our personal satisfaction. So what are we building? We are building the social network for the next generation with a focus on in real life network. So for students, we have built an app where you can see fundamentally, what do you want to know? You want to know where your mates are going at uni. That's the most thing that you want to know, what things are popping off, where are people going? In the same place where you can connect with those groups and book tickets to those events. So on the Youni feed, for example, you will get notified. So for example, you can see here, Jess Donald's attending this event run by the group. You can then follow that group. You can keep up to date with them. So that's kind of the student side of this. Ultimately, the best part of Facebook, see what you're interested in, where you're going, and then you can buy tickets in the same platform. Very simple concept. Don't know why it doesn't exist yet. For societies, what we want to do is basically elevate the university experience to a new level. And that is through providing societies with the funds and the sponsorship that they deserve. Ultimately, student societies are a network of incredible micro-communities. And what is one of the fastest growing ROI generators in marketing right now? Community marketing. That's one of the biggest advantageous things you can do as a brand. It's build your community offline. So what we're also doing is connect the biggest brands in the world to student societies. Don't be oh, brands, you need to create your community from scratch. They already exist. McKinsey sponsor Oxford Women in Consulting. And we're really facilitating that partnership, treating societies as though they're kind of micro-influencers, because they are. And we provide all of the data to allow societies to make the most out of their community, to find out how do they manage it better, what demographics are they hitting, how can they boost engagement, and then also how can they be paired with sponsors. So that basically is a nutshell is kind of what we're doing, and hopefully the rest of that. If you have any questions on that, I'd kind of like to know now. Is that okay?
Go for it, yeah.
Because if there's anything that I haven't made clear, I'd rather you know what the fuck we do before I talk about why I've done it. That was quite exciting, I didn't mean that in an aggressive way. I dare you not! I just think clarity is so important before I give you the story. It's I just want you to know. I often listen to so many podcasts and I get so far and I'm hold on, what are you actually building? Yeah. What have you actually done? I don't know.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's an app. It's an app to help you find out where your friends are going and to help elevate experience by funding societies.
Are we happy with that? Okay.
Nice.
Fine, great. Well, now that we've sort of introed Youni, where did this idea come from? What's your experience? What sort of happened? Good, bad, ugly, brilliant, that inspired you to create this?
Yeah, so there's actually a lot of motivators to this idea. So I think first and foremost is the present state of social media, who it's run by. It's not people that look like me, I can tell you that. And what it's doing to our mental health. So when I was 14, I was posting those pictures on Facebook of me in a bikini, like completely measuring my identity on the metrics that my social posts hit. And now I work in marketing and I know, and I analyze metrics for a date, and the thought that I was measuring my identity on like metrics was just mental to me. Anyway, when I hit 14 and Instagram started to boom and Snap and all of this kind of stuff, I just remember I had this mental day where I was like, I'm not gonna get any for 10 years. I'm not gonna go on any of those apps for 10 years and see what happens. So from the age of 14 to 24, I didn't go on Instagram or Snapchat. I obviously saw them everywhere, but I didn't have either because I just noticed, I was like, this is going to screw my generation's brain and I don't want to be a part of it. I want to build the solution in 10 years time when I have the perspective to be able to do that. And that's kind of where you're meeting me now. At that point where I've seen what it's done exactly what I predicted it would do. They've become media companies, for better or for worse, great tools for a lot of different things, not for socializing, not for in real life interactions. So that's probably one motivator in terms of like our general scope. With regards to starting at universities, I mean, we're copying the Facebook playbook in that way. One of the things that was mentioned before is that we can't take on Mark Zuckerberg. We can't. I believe we can. I definitely believe we need a new Mark Zuckerberg, and I would absolutely love the opportunity to be it. I mean, whether I get there is a very different matter, but I really don't think that anything is out. Like, if Mark Zuckerberg can do it and he's XYZ, I really don't see any reason why anyone in this room couldn't. Like, everything in this room, there's a beautiful Steve Jobs quote about this that I'm going to butcher, but everything in this room was built by someone just like you. This microphone, this, this table, whatever. Yes, they had different levels of expertise because they researched and they honed in on a particular skill to get there. So I think it was a combination of the social media, realizing that I could be the person to potentially solve it, and arriving at uni and being really disappointed and being like, this is my last opportunity to grow my network. And why am I not finding anything? Why am I finding it hard to find, I'm a gay woman. And I was like, where the hell is the LGBTQ scene here? I just couldn't find it. And I was like, I know it exists, but like it's half on Facebook, half on Instagram, half on Eventbrite, half on Fixer, half on Google Sheets, half on Google Forms, half in people's WhatsApp groups, half just through like chats in the pub, word of mouth. And I was like, why has no one put this all together?
I agree. When I was at university, it was a chaos. It was like the odd Facebook group, and then there'd be another group here. We weren't really we were using WhatsApp, but not in the way that we use it now. I'm not that old, I'm 27. But taking a quick step back, can you give everybody a bit of insight into like who you are?
In what way? Where do I start?
Where did you go to university?
Yeah, so I'm George, or Georgia, but I tend to go by George for my friends, and all of you are now my friends. And I graduated from the University of Oxford. Last year I studied Spanish and Italian, and during that time I got to live in Cuba, in Sardinia, and in Seville in Spain, which was mental in terms of learning how to build a community app, because I basically had to restart my life several different times in different cities and speak their language figuratively and literally. Before that, I was really committed to music. So I grew up in quite a musical family, and getting involved with, I was kind of I had a saxophone scholar, which is quite a weird thing to be. But I did session musicianing, played in bands, and that really taught me the power of delayed gratification, which kind of led to my realization that all of these platforms were built on instant gratification. They make money on keeping you in a sub-depressed state so that you reach for dopamine. Like, you can call it manipulative. I mean, it's different. People have been doing it for ages. This kind of method of hooking people in isn't new. If you think of Beowulf and how people used to tell stories around campfires, and they normally have the hook phrase. It's capturing people's attention. I don't necessarily think is necessarily toxic. These companies need to make money. You can point fingers all the time, but that's ultimately what they're doing. So what I realized is through doing music and realizing that practicing a musical instrument and spending the first 5 years squawking, or hopefully less than 5 years, but the first time squawking on the saxophone and literally everyone being can you get out of the house please, to then go playing with some of the top musicians in the country, and realizing and being able to form new communities, I was like, wow, that is actually happiness. And it's really that simple. I think it's just about, finding your passions and your purpose. And that realization was whatever I build, and I know I'm going to build something, whatever I build, it has to help people find their passion and purpose in terms of delayed gratification, not in a quick flick, quick bait way.
Mm-hmm. And you built uni while you were at uni, didn't you?
Yeah.
Or you
Started doing it when I was doing my finals. Would not recommend. That was so stressful, and everyone was like, don't do it, don't do it. And I thrive off people saying don't do something. And as a female founder in tech, like, people say no all the time, and you just have to like hear it as yeses. So the more people say no, I'm just like, cool, thanks. So that was stressful, but yes, I started building it while I was with my incredible co-founder as well, whilst we both had similar experiences at university. And we launched kind of like the first trial version, I think it was a week before my first exam, with a huge party.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you obviously had the co-founder, and we have talked a lot about motivation in the last podcast and keeping going. So did you find inspiration from each other, or did you also, or as well as, did you have any other external inspirations from a business perspective?
Yeah, hugely. In terms of, so my co-founder is very different to me. We have very different skills, and that is really, really crucial. Like, if any of you are thinking about starting a business or already do, then I hope that the person that you choose to do it with is not someone that has the same skills as you. I'm extremely inspired by the way my co-founder's brain works. He's very logical, and I will come up with these ideas like boom, boom, and he's like, Georgia, put the numbers on a page, and I'm like, damn it. But then I also push him, in different ways and stretch like the limits of his creativity and things like that. So it's a really beneficial relationship. I've also learned, I don't know whether this is a bad thing to say. I hope not, because I have a lot of similar opinions, as were previously expressed, about women in the tech scene. But I've learned loads from men, not necessarily do I think that to achieve as a woman in a male-dominated space that you have to mimic men, or wear suits, or start chatting BS. But I do think that there is an element that we can learn from the way that men don't apologize every sentence as much, or that they just talk like they're going to build the next biggest thing, and you start to believe it. Part of what I'm doing right now is maybe you are starting to believe that I could be the person to do it. But that's just because I'm telling you. You have no idea. I could be, I'm not saying it's an act, but I've genuinely believed this about myself, and it's been a journey to get there. But I think I've actually learned from looking at how the men doing it and being like, I can do that. It's just a self-presentation thing, and it's been difficult. But that is something I think, just not apologizing, and looking around in a room full of men where I'm mostly at. This is so amazing to be sitting around where I'm in, and while feeling like a complete imposter, not making that my identity in the room, being like, I'm an imposter. Like, again, being a gay woman, super marginalized community, and I'm actually writing an article on this right now, 5 reasons why being gay has helped me build a business, because it gives you a new perspective, whatever your difference is, however fucking weird it is, whatever, physical, mental, whatever, it gives you a new perspective on something, and that is just such a privilege. Perspective is for me, I think it's given me a new way of thinking. And so I'm really, to go back to Bristol, I'm really inspired by people that have different perspectives on things and just push back. So Whitney Wolf heard of Bumble, for example. So the business is such a weird idea, amazing idea. But if I was to come to you now and be like, I'm building a dating app that is, only women can like the men, and you're like, I'd have so many questions. I was like, okay, hold on. What about gay dating? What about all these other markets? Whatever. Is there a way that it could depend on? But it's great, and it's empowering, and it's wonderful, and it's incredible. But I just love the way that she pushed back and just did something really well. She's a big, Sheryl Sandberg as well, a huge hero of mine. A lot of women who have just proven that they can do exactly what men can.
And so you talk about perspective there, and bringing it back to uni a little bit. What's your perspective about the importance of uni students attending events? Is there a deeper, mission statement here that's driving business, driving
big
you
time.
to do this?
Big time. This sounds like a slogan, but I genuinely believe it. Connection is the new currency. In a world that is becoming increasingly dominated by AI, the university experience specifically with online learning and ed tech, the only way the university experience is worth anything is for the community and the network that you build. It's fundamental, and that's the most important thing you take from uni is your network. Whether it's the support network or in terms of the professional opportunities that will lead to. Yes, your degree will open certain doors, but your network will open more. So we want to help people grow that and do so in a way that's hugely beneficial for their mental health. Like getting out, there is nothing better than that moment that where you like go to an event and someone says something and you like feel something in your tummy and you're like, fuck yeah, like that really resonates in a way. Or you just have an interaction with someone who articulates something in a way you really feel and relates to your personal experience. And those moments, like that's our magic moment as a company, where as a result of the Youni app, you have experienced that feeling in a room with someone else, with a community, and that's what gives me the kick, yeah.
And so what was it like building, like the people, the team, more so the team really, because you need the team to build the product and to build your vision. So, you know, share with us how you did that. How did that look like?
Yeah, so we're a very small team, but we are growing. And what's really exciting is that I get a lot of DMs of students that want to come work with us. So if that is you, do let me know. But in terms of building the team, so we have, myself and my co-founder, we have a CTO and then we have 4 developers. And really like, we have, in terms of like the actual recruitment or in terms of like fundraising?
I'd say in terms of like, the whole process from obviously the idea to then, okay, so you had your co-founder that you built that idea with, and then you looked to, okay, what do I need next? How did you decide what you needed? How did you actually recruit them and
okay, so just like
the cut?
Going ideation to execution kind of thing. By like failing really fast, getting loads of things wrong, and then you get all the things wrong, that the next option has to be the right thing. So we did loads of that, from outsourcing our tech originally, and now we have a tech team that's actually built, that we built in-house, who are really committed to our mission as well. When with a mission as big as ours, there's loads of different ways that we could do it. And there's loads of different things that we could prioritize. Do you nail one university? Do you scale? Do you hone in on events? Do you hone in on groups? There's loads of different things that we could do, and it's really deciding which first, and like we'll get to the other things. So I'd say it's kind of been, an exercise in prioritization. And more, this is something I actually was thinking on the way here when I was liming and I was listening to like pumping music. I thought I was in a montage. And it was that a lot of life is about learning whose advice to listen to. And the more ambitious your goal is in life, the more people will give you advice and the less of it you should listen to. And right now I'm in the privileged position of having met someone who is very high up in the world that we want to enter into. I can't really give much more details than that, but he's kind of taken us under his wing in a way that could completely accelerate our business in a way. I'm so excited about the whole thing. Anyway, I'm not going to be too annoying because I can't be too open about that. But like, he's someone who we should listen to because he knows the space back to front. But I've been taking advice from people how to build businesses who've built like a fashion company. Amazing business, but you know nothing about social network. Like, why am I listening? So I think really I've just learned to filter out noise and focus on what you're doing and who to listen to execute it. And it's most people not. And then also, and so that's in the professional capacity, and then also in your personal life, who to listen to. You know, work-life balance. There are moments for it. I don't really believe it should ever be 50-50. I think it's pretty impossible. I think you should have moments where you're more work, moments where you're more life. And don't look for the balance within one day, look for the balance within a month, kind of thing. So, yeah, in terms of, I'm kind of getting to your answer in a rambly way, but I'm kind of in how we built it up. And we also did a raise. So we raised $350,000, which pre-product. So that was before we then even launched our app. And we're on track to raise a similar amount this month, which would be kind of mental. But some people really recognize the vision that needs to happen. So we'll see if we can do that. But yeah, I think it's with that money, it helps us to bring new talent on as well.
And you know, people here might want to set up their own business, and I know we did touch on fundraising, Eleanor, but of course, two very different businesses, very different sectors. You bootstrapped for a while.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, it was really difficult.
Yeah, so talk to us a little bit about
all my savings, like all of that, all of my savings, like the first part of uni was a big, like, why the hell am I doing this? Like, what is going on? And just like the arrogance to think that I could do it. I was like, George, why you? Obviously not, you can't do this. And then there's just little moments where someone's like, actually, you're onto something, or this could be you. And I'm like, okay, that will sustain me for a week, perfect. But yeah, the first part of building a company is so scrappy. You're literally there, like, pulling, I mean, we have no marketing budget and everything. We managed to still get some content that has done quite well on socials. You don't need a lot of money to do a lot of the early stuff. It's actually better not to. There's a great quote I love with regards to creative execution by David Ogilvy, which is, give me the freedom of a restricted brief. And that way that sometimes having things that like actually limit your mindset enable you to think way more creatively. It's like why the sonnet is such a beautiful poem structure, because 14 lines, you've got to stay within that. So I kind of love restrictions. This kind of goes back to what I was saying, like being a woman, being a gay woman. Like bring me another restriction and see how I bend it and get around it. So yeah, although difficult, really creatively emancipating.
And you said that you're both filling a gap that Facebook has kind of left, but also that you're also maybe taking a lot of what Facebook has done naturally and trying to progress it, trying to evolve it into something of your own. So you guys have sort of like a unique CRM approach within your app, and I think it might be worth us diving into a little bit of that, of why you chose to do that, what makes it different in that tech landscape in terms of socialization tools. Let's dig into a little bit more of those functionalities that does differ your app to others.
Yeah, there's quite a few things. I think one of the main ones is that other social media platforms use the power of FOMO to keep people attached to their screens. And ultimately now, like, the fear of going out has like even replaced the fear of missing out. We want to flip that and use the power of FOMO so you can see what your friends are doing, you just have more access to the community to actually push you to get more involved. So I think that's one of the main things which differentiate us, is that it's not to be like, look at what all your friends are doing. You're not there. It's like, you totally could be there just with a click of a button, so get out there. And ultimately, another way that I describe what differentiates us is that, like, your life can be a show reel if you want it to be, but you need to have something to show. And social media is incredible for storing memories, but it's not very good at making them. So Youni is there to help you make memories and then post them on the other ones, kind of thing. So that is like a broad thing. Then within the actual tech, there are so many. Does CRM does that make sense to people? Do you know what that is? It's basically allows. I mean, there's different ways you could define it, but fundamentally, in our case, it enables societies to organize all of their admin and analytics and engagement and stuff in the same platform. They're kind of posting about it. So we are one of the first companies to really try on student organizers and to give them the tools as though they were either micro-influencers or organizers at like different levels of like establishment. So we allow societies to like have analytics on their engagement, on their demographic, to be able to boost their engagement within those areas, but also to monetize their influence, to be able to then keep doing what they're doing. And if you guys know about marketing, MetaSuite and all the data they give you is absolutely so chaotic. And they also put at the bottom, they go, this may not all be accurate. And you're like, well, thanks. why do I have a page of analytics is not accurate? So we're one of the only tools that actually like has the data all within the app. So we can see how many people are attending your events. There's no like click through, you have to go here to buy a ticket, go there to do that. It's all within one place. So it's really, really accurate. And then one of the things I'm super excited about, and this will be the last thing I say on this point, is developing something that I'm working on right now, which is called counter cookies, whereby at the moment, the way the algorithm is obviously like funnels the same things that so if you're looking at a lot of left-wing content or right-wing content or whatever it may be, it will just give you all of that, which makes sense because ultimately if you're looking at, you are interested in it and you probably want to see more of it. But I think what we also want to do is provide the like we think you'll like events, groups, etc., but also that we think you should try to expand your university experience. So let's say we see you're going to a lot of techno events, we will have under the we think you'll try like life drawing, and to basically push other communities that wouldn't naturally come up on your feed to expand your perspective.
At this point, did we have any questions so far? Oh, we have one.
Hi. congratulations on everything. I think your idea is fantastic.
Thank you.
I just wanted to ask, like, you were talking about, expanding these communities and also the power of leveraging FOMO. Do you foresee how this could posit, like, maybe safeguarding risks in terms of peer pressure or those kind of things for people, and kind of having the opposite effect? Obviously, that's not what you intend to do, but do you see people using this in the wrong way to kind of create that peer pressure?
I mean, always. Like, we can't control the consumer, and whatever tool you give to man, they will do something with it that it wasn't intended to do. We use knives to cut steaks, but someone's probably going to stab someone with a knife. So ultimately, if you build anything that you're giving the power to the user, sometimes they're going to use it in a way you didn't intend. But ultimately, if you can build it in the way that most people can, I think that's as much as like we can do, really.
I think that's, part of one of the hurdles that you're going to find as you scale the business. What's the vision next? Because you've built this fantastic product. As much as you can share, where do you see your scaling journey, and what's the vision there?
Well, kind of in response to that question, and to bring in an extra response to what you said as well, one of the things really key to us is building a brand. Now, if you think of Facebook or Instagram, what is their brand? Like, think of Nike, and immediately just through it suddenly that infusion of activity and engagement. Or if you think of any other brands that resonate with you, often like kind of fashion, retail, music, etc. Social media platforms don't have such a sense of brand, and really one of the things that we want to do is build also one of the social networking companies that has that just do it feeling with it that Nike has been able to do so well, and to kind of ensure that people do use it in the right way, because it's so built into the product in the way that user trainers to run, not to throw at someone. Also, one of the things about building a startup is what's next changes the whole time. Like, if you ask me in 2 days, it will be different to right now, because you get one lead and then you're like, fuck, we're going all out on that, and then you're like, no, we're going all out on that. Right now, we're on track to close some dollar. So that is exciting, but we need to hit some aggressive metrics to be able to do that, which we're also on track to do. What we're really focusing on is curating some really incredible experiences for people focusing at the University of Oxford currently, allowing societies to basically do events like they haven't really done before, in terms of providing them the funding to do so and matching brands up with societies to boost their events. And we're also releasing the second version of Youni V2 in a couple of weeks, which I'm super excited about because it looks really good. And then loads of content. Like, I can bitch about social media, but I love storytelling. And as I say, I think social media is great for media. It's great for storytelling. It's not great for, as I say, making the memories or anything like that. So I love creating that kind of stuff as well. And we have all of our videos on to release Youni V2. I realized I was scrolling through all the most iconic makeover scenes, all women getting made over, Princess Diaries, Centurions, all of this kind of stuff. And I was like, right, Omar, I always bring him up with an idea, and he's like, for fuck's sake. I'm like, Omar, we're making you over. And I've basically done remakes of Centurions, Mean Girls, and what's the last one? Centurions, Mean Girls, and another one which I've suddenly forgotten, with Omar, my co-founder, as like the main character, and it's iconic. And it's also launched the fact that Youni's had a makeover. So yeah, expect a lot. And follow us on Instagram to keep up with what's going on. We're very small at the moment, but we're growing at quite an exciting rate, I hope. And hopefully we'll continue to.
In terms of that fundraising journey, you're obviously about to potentially close on some more capital. If anybody here is sitting here thinking, like, one day actually I think I might want to start my own business, how would, in a very sort of synopsized approach, what would they do to get ready to approach for fundraising?
For fundraising specifically, or for starting a business in general?
I mean, either.
Okay. Well, I would say for anything that is risky, you're never ready. So basically anything you're not ready to do is exactly the thing that you should be doing. So don't ever wait to be ready, because then it'll be too late. And it'll probably have changed anyway, and you'll have changed and you won't want to do it anymore. So I would always just say, change your parameters of what you think you need to know before you start. Something men are very good at. They don't need to know everything before they start it, and neither do women. You can just get going. With regards to fundraising specifically, fundraising is a massive bitch. There's no playbook really. I would say that I mean, I could give some advice in terms of my personal journey with fundraising.
How you went with what investor and what that looked like and where you found that information and who was your guiding light in that.
I mean, we made a lot of mistakes. First of all, you kind of spray and pray and you get yourself out there and you take like loads of calls and you're like, yes, yes, yes. And then I think, and I'm still very much on this journey, and I think I'm still honing my perspective on the best way to fundraise. I'm so early, I haven't closed huge amounts of capital, so for me to be giving advice seems very premature. But from what I've learned so far, I would say is that you need to talk in those fundraising interviews like you've already closed the capital that you want to raise. I think I've spoken a lot about confidence, and it's not in a way to say that you have to bluff it, but they just have to see belief. Like, if you think you're the person to build what you want to build, you need to be a little bit crazy to think that you could do that, that you could create that. I mean, in some ways that creativity is like seeing things that doesn't exist yet. So they need to see clarity in your vision. So I'd say my biggest piece of advice for fundraising, and this is actually taken from one of the heads at YC, is that investors need to know within the first 5 sentences what your company does. Don't leave them waiting till later and be like, wait, what is it you actually do? Like, they just need to know. Clarity is one of the biggest competitive advantages, because there's so many investors who are just like, I just don't really understand. And then they'll go and then they'll send you an email being like, the market opportunity is not big enough. And you'll be like, hold on, it is. And then you realize, oh, they just didn't understand what we're doing. So they think the market opportunity is not big enough. So really narrowing down your pitch so you can say and I'm still working on it. It's a new variation every week. I was iterating on something today with you guys to see how it landed in terms of clarity. So I'd love feedback. But really nailing what it is that you do and then going into the other stuff, I think is so important when raising capital. And then my other advice would be every rejection, you'll get so many rejections, and you can look up amazing stories of Melanie Perkins, who founded Canva, got rejected by like all investors for like years, and like all of the big boys did. So you just have to, every time you get a no, it's really difficult, you just have to think, your loss, you're missing out, we're gonna bring back, and that does happen. And then you can do one of those posts where you can be like, XYZ didn't invest in me and now they're an idiot. And I have loads of people in a roster who I wish I could be like, oh, you're wrong. And so I think, and then that kind of comes on to my other piece of advice is that you kind of have to cultivate a sense of FOMO with investors. Like, they need to know who else you're speaking to, but you have to drop it in a quite an interesting way. You have to give don't lie. That's definitely not the way to do it. But if you are having open conversations, like it's all playground politics. These are just men in a playground with lots of money in their pockets. And just realize that if they'll get a bit jealous if you're talking to someone else, and you go like, oh, we've actually had a meeting with this VC, and they're like, wait, really? And you're like, yes. And obviously you have to have actually done that to say that, because they also communicate. But yeah, that would kind of be some of the biggest pieces of advice which occurs to me now.
And earlier on you said that you're almost like your network is your net worth.
Yes, sir.
And you're part of quite an exciting Sigma Squared, isn't it?
Yeah. So Sigma Squared, I think the definition of it is, and this is going to sound like I'm bragging, and I'm really not, I'm just kind of like reading off their landing page. But it is a community of the most ambitious founders and kind of excelling and successful founders under the age of 26 globally. And the way that you get into Sigma Squared is you have to get invited, and then you have 3 interviews, and you have to submit a long written application. So I did that. I got invited last September, and then I did my 3 interviews and I wrote my written application and got accepted in. I'm now running the Sigma London Summit in April, which is going to be super exciting. Loads of heads from tech in there. And it's an incredible community of loads of people that are all as crazy as each other and who believe they can change the world and kind of egg each other on to do it. And the reason that it's actually such a beautiful community is I've never been part of something that is so based on people helping each other and not looking for anything back. And genuinely, I've had some of the most incredible interactions with people where they've just said, George, we'll introduce you to this person, and they're getting nothing out of it. But they just really see a gap and they're trying to help me, and then it actually leads you, and I've helped so many people on the back of being helped and being like, God, I want to do that for someone else. So they really cultivate connections and communities in a really, really beautiful way. And they do big global summits where all of the founders from the world once a year, meet in one city. It literally feels like the Hunger Games. It's hilarious. Like all of these founders arrive in one city. So I was in Lisbon a couple of months ago. I was absolutely euphoric for like 3 days. I literally felt like I was jacked on caffeine. I don't drink coffee, which made me a bit surprised. But yeah, and you get to talk to everyone there. You get mentorship. It's really amazing. If you're building something or ideating or thinking about building something and you want to be part of a community like that, definitely talk to me about it, because you also have to be referred. So I could refer you, for example. And I also run a community of female founders. I actually used to run a community of outlier founders as well, and creative founders. And yeah, I've built lots of different communities in my time. So,
and not all communities are invite only. Obviously it does help because it's word of mouth, but some of them are perhaps like small membership based. Usually they're just to cover costs. Some of them obviously are a bit more affluent and they look to, you know, have a bit of a fee. But there's lots of different facts out there that people can also just like say.
Yeah, I'd be wary of the founders ones that make you charge, that like make you pay too much for a membership, because often you don't get as much as they say you're going to get. They say we're going to intro you to X many investors or do all this. I'd be wary of paid membership communities, especially when you're starting out in your journey. There's enough free ones.
To start
off, and then think about potentially, there are some excellent paid ones as well when you get to a certain level, but to start out I would just like bootstrap and just like try and meet as many people as possible.
Yeah. So we've got 2 rounds up questions before we open up the floor to any other questions from everyone here. Might be difficult to pin down, but what would you say has been the biggest challenge in your career today?
Yeah, I mean, new ones keep emerging, and I would say that there was a moment when we were very close to running out of money, and that's quite stressful because we are paying salaries and you can't pay people's salaries, and that was pretty low. I remember me and Omar looking at each other being like, oh, we fucking tried. Maybe it's just not us. Maybe we're just not people to do it. We know the solution needs to be built. Like, it's so obvious the problem space is there, but like maybe it's just not us. And weirdly, entrepreneurship has this hack of just getting you in those moments, and then like the next day, they were like, someone was like, we want to meet, and we ended up raising money off that person. Like, it's mental. You think you're at rock bottom, and then suddenly someone just throws you something, and then you're back on the treadmill again. So there's been quite a few of those moments. I was actually in one relatively recently, like a couple weeks ago. I was like, I don't know whether I'm the person to do this. I really don't. And then I met this person who has just completely changed the course of the company. And again, that just happened. I've just grown my network in a way that is huge. And now I'm talking as a completely different founder to who you would have met 2 weeks ago. But yeah, it just keeps changing. And the kind of highs and lows get even bigger the more developed you get as a company, I think, because you just become even more aware, and like the higher, so like now we're at a level where I'm now thinking about, okay, I can expand my ambition to this degree, but I'm like, fuck, that means the challenges are now this big rather than like this big.
Yeah, you get to the top of one mountain and then you realise you're just at the bottom of another, is what
Yeah.
say. What one piece of advice would you leave either people in the room today, either one, to start their own business, or maybe to even joining a business that is a startup?
I would say, I'm going to quote someone else here. I saw, I can't remember the actress's name. Damn it. Well, that really burns.
We'll find it.
And she says, it's a famous brunette actress. I think she's in The Crown. I think she plays the young queen. Do you guys know who I mean? Claire Foy. I think it's Claire Foy. Or maybe, no, it's the one in Star Wars who looks a bit like Claire Foy. Okay, anyway, whatever. She says, what is one piece of advice you'd give to young actors? And she goes straight to the camera and she goes, are you sure? Because you have to be sure. And if there's anything else that you think you could do, then do that. And that piece of advice, even though it's not related to my discipline, is extremely transferable to entrepreneurialism and building your own business. So really, I would say that if you're thinking about it, are you sure? Because in the same way as was mentioned earlier, you need to have something that's going to get you out of bed, and it's not going to be someone else calling you, giving you a to-do list. Like, it has to come from you. And if there's anything else that you think you could do, then you might as well do that, because as soon as things get tough, you will jump ship anyway. Like, you're going to end up doing that anyway because it doesn't drive you enough. So you really have to, you don't necessarily have to know what you're sure about yet, and it can change, but you have to be sure about some sort of area or emotion or like trauma, whatever it may be that's driving you. Like, it's fine. You can be running away from something as much as running towards something, but just know that like you're gonna question yourself a lot in this journey. So yeah, just be sure about something. You don't necessarily need to know what it is, but definitely that. And then, as I kind of said before, don't overestimate the parameters of what you need to know before starting. The one thing you need to know is you need to have confidence that you could do something with it. But in terms of like the expertise, the research, you're going to do that on the go. Like, just do it on the go. Like, start and figure out on the way.
Well, on that note, we'll finish the podcast. Thank you so much, Georgia, for coming on.
Thank you for having me.